The following clip you're about to watch is a compilation of two separate incidents, two different stores, but connected by the same deeply unsettling thread of objects that should be completely inanimate, deciding otherwise. The first comes from a night watchman working the closing shift in the toy section of a department store. He was doing his rounds when the dolls started going off. Not one or two, but a whole shelf of them simultaneously. A section full of dolls, all making noise at the same time, in a store that had been empty for hours, with no customers, no children, nothing that should have triggered them all at once. Pay close attention toward the very end of this clip. One of the dolls turns its head and looks directly at him. The simultaneous activation is the detail that removes the easy explanations. A single doll going off can be a sensor malfunction, a battery issue, a vibration from somewhere in the building. But all of them, together, at the same time, in a closed store after midnight, points toward something that moved through that aisle and triggered every single one as it passed. And then there's the second location. It's an exhibition. And this one is perhaps even harder to explain than the first, because at least the dolls had electronics inside them, sensors, batteries, something mechanical that could theoretically malfunction. What gets captured at the exhibition has none of that. The skulls on display there are made of cardboard and paper, the kind handed out in schools, simple craft materials, nothing inside them, nothing that moves, nothing that could possibly account for what the camera catches. And yet one of them turns its head.
Hechas de cartón y papel, como las que dan en las escuelas.
A paper skull turning its head has exactly one explanation available to it, and it isn't a technical one. Exhibition spaces and department stores cycle through objects and artifacts from countless sources, absorbing the energy of everything that passes through them. In both of these locations, something moved through an object that had no business moving, one with electronics that all fired at once, and one made of paper that shouldn't have been able to move at all. Whatever passed through that toy aisle, and whatever turned that paper skull, they both made their presence known through the objects closest to them. And the question worth asking is how many other objects in how many other stores are doing the same thing when the lights go off and nobody's watching? This next clip was posted by a frightened mother, and you'll soon see why she was frightened. But before you watch the clip, let's have a little background. The little girl had already told her mum that someone was in the bedroom before this was recorded. Not something, someone. Specific enough that she asked her mum to close the door and not go in. What you're about to watch isn't a child being dramatically scared of the dark or working herself up over nothing. This is a little girl who has seen something, who knows what she saw, and who is not willing to let her mother go back into that room under any circumstances.
Blakey, you okay?
There's nothing you can do or say to change that.
I love you.
Do you want me to go open the door? Why? No?
Sucks for you.
Okay. Okay, I'm honestly freaking the fuck out and I don't know what to do. Just a couple minutes ago, I got up and I closed my door because she kept pointing to my room saying, Mommy, Mommy, someone's over there.
Yes, but
And she was terrified. She was terrified. Of course, freaking me out. So I went over there and she just said, no, Mommy, come here, Mommy, sit, Mommy, don't go over there. And so I called the dog and I closed the motherfucking door. And as you can see, dude, she's still terrified. She's still terrified. She doesn't want me going over there. She doesn't want me to open the door. I am Dude, I'm terrified.
The mom tries to reason with her, asked if she can go open the door, and the answer is a firm, unwavering no. The kind of no that doesn't come from imagination, but from certainty. But that was only the beginning of what this family captured. The same night, the mom does what any parent torn between protecting their child and finding a rational explanation eventually does. She gets up. She tells her daughter she's going to check the room, that she'll be right back, keeping her voice steady and calm the way parents do when they're trying not to transfer their own fear. And the little girl's response is immediate. She hides her face and then she starts to cry. Not a tantrum, not frustration, the kind of crying that comes from genuine terror, from watching someone you love walk towards something you know is there and being completely unable to stop them. Watch.
Blakey, Mommy's gonna go open the door, okay? I'll be right back. It's okay. I'll be right back. And now she's hiding her face. It's okay, baby. Okay, 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 okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, tell me I'm not... What do I do?
There is a belief that runs through almost every culture that has ever documented paranormal experiences, that children, particularly young ones, exist in a state of perception that adults have long since closed off. That somewhere in growing up, in learning to categorize and rationalize and explain the world, we lose access to something we were born with. And that what looks like an overactive imagination in a frightened child is sometimes something else entirely. A clarity that the adults around them simply no longer have the equipment to share. Children that age don't sustain manufactured fear like that. They move on, they get distracted, and they forget. But this child didn't forget, and several hours later, she still insists on not letting her mum go into the room, a place the little girl normally likes to run into and play around in. Some believe these presences are residual, tied to the home, to something that happened within those walls before the family arrived. Others believe they follow, that they attach not to a place, but to a person, specifically to a child, and move with them wherever they go. Which brings us to years later, a new house, a fresh start in a completely different space, with no history, no reason to expect anything to carry over from before, and then this happens. "10 minutes of sustained, focused aggression directed at something in a room that appears completely empty. Not the startled reaction of an animal that heard a noise outside or caught a scent through a window. 10 minutes of unbroken, unwavering attention fixed on a specific point in a brand new house that this family had barely settled into. The little girl from those earlier videos is older now. The house is different. Everything around her has changed. But that dog growled for 10 straight minutes at something. Make of that what you will." This next clip comes from Indonesia, posted by someone who describes this as their first encounter. Every evening after Maghrib, the Islamic prayer that marks the end of daylight, a shadow would appear through the glass block vent in their boarding room. Consistent, predictable, returning at the same time every single evening, like something that had put it in its schedule. At first, they didn't think much of it. Shadows have explanations, and the mind is very good at finding them when it wants to. And then they mentioned it to the boarding house keeper. Whatever the keeper told them in that conversation, it was enough to make them understand immediately that what they had been seeing every evening after sunset was not something that could be explained away. That was the moment, as they described it, that they realized this was their first terror. Take a look. Now, before the instinct to suggest someone outside casting a shadow takes over, that vent is positioned high enough off the ground that no person could reach it, climb to it, or stand anywhere near it to cast anything through it. The height alone removes the human explanation entirely. Whatever is appearing through that glass block every evening after Maghrib is not standing on the ground to do it. In Indonesian spiritual tradition, the timing is significant in a way that goes beyond coincidence. Maghrib is considered one of the most spiritually vulnerable times of day, the transitional window between light and dark, where the boundary between the physical world and the unseen world is at its thinnest. It is a time when Muslims are specifically encouraged to be inside, to pray, to seek protection, and it is a time that certain presences are believed to use deliberately, arriving at the exact moment when that boundary weakens and the conditions are most favorable for them to be seen. Whatever was appearing through that vent every evening after Maghrib was not lost. It knew exactly which room to come to. This next clip was posted by Cruz Drosa, someone who is both Native American and Mexican. He's babysitting his niece and nephew when his niece starts pointing at the hallway. He can't see anything, but he knows this house well enough that he doesn't need to see something to take it seriously, so he pulls out his phone. Because this is a house where the toilet has flushed on its own with nobody in the bathroom. More than once, the kind of detail that stops being a plumbing issue after the third or fourth time and starts being something else entirely. So when a small child starts pointing at a dark hallway with the kind of focused certainty that children have when they're seeing something real, he listens.
Who are you pointing at? Who is he? How come you keep pointing? Where's he at? Is he over there?
Will you read it to us, please?
Who is he? My niece keeps pointing at someone right here in this little hallway. I'm not really sure who it is, but yeah, she's like pointing upwards. They must be tall or something. Look, she's pointing again, look.
She keeps pointing, attention fixed, completely unmoved by his attempts to show her the hallway is empty. And so he decides to go look for himself. He walks toward the hallway, phone recording, moving into the darkness that his niece has been pointing at with total conviction. He can't see anything, but the hallway apparently has something to say about being investigated, because something even stranger happens. Something drops to the floor in front of them, out of nowhere, thrown from somewhere in the dark with enough force and direction that there is no version of gravity that accounts for it. Something threw that battery, and whatever threw it was standing in the part of the hallway his niece had been pointing at all along.
Yeah, she sent something though. Like, it's crazy because, like, I know I'm just babysitting my niece and nephew. My nephew's right here. Then it's her, and then she keeps pointing at something. What is that? Yeah, man. And then she grabbed this lantern right here. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Viewers in the comments immediately started telling him to download a spirit box or ghost tube, apps that paranormal investigators use to attempt direct communication with presences, converting audio frequencies into words in real time. The suggestion alone tells you how seriously people who watched that battery drop took what they were seeing. This wasn't a crowd telling him to check his wiring or call a plumber. This was a crowd telling him to open a line of communication with whatever was standing in that hallway. But Cruz Drosa had a different approach. His niece was scared, and whatever was in that hallway, whatever had been flushing toilets in that house, and was now throwing batteries at people who came looking for it, had officially crossed a line. So he does what anyone who has grown up navigating the space between the physical world and the spiritual one learns to do. He addresses it directly, out loud.
You gotta get out of here, man. You gotta leave, man. Honestly. You're not welcomed here. Leave. Whoever you are, leave. You're scaring my niece. Look, she keeps pointing at you. Get the fuck out of here, man.
There is something significant about the cultural context here that goes beyond a general belief in the paranormal. Both Native American and Mexican spiritual traditions carry deep, specific frameworks for dealing with presences that occupy shared spaces. Traditions that don't just acknowledge the existence of entities, but provide direct, practice methods for confronting them. The command he issues isn't born from panic or bravado. It comes from a cultural inheritance that has been navigating exactly these kinds of encounters for generations, long before ghost hunting became a hobby. Whether what was in that hallway listened, whether it left or simply went quiet, is something only that house knows. But a child who pointed at the same spot through 3 separate clips, a battery thrown from the dark, and a toilet that flushes itself when the bathroom is empty all point towards something that has been in that house long enough to feel comfortable there. And the question worth sitting with is whether one command from an uncle protecting his niece was enough to convince it to find somewhere else to be, or whether it's still standing in that hallway waiting for the next person to come looking. I'll leave you with that one. This next clip was posted by a mother who was sitting outside in her compound, gently rocking her 4-month-old daughter in a chair. The baby is almost asleep when something pulls her out of it. She startles, and then she looks directly toward the gate. Not the unfocused, wandering gaze of a sleepy infant, but a locked, alert stare fixed on one specific point. The way you look when something has genuinely caught your attention. Watch closely.
Sí, mira, quiero que observes bien este video y me digas qué te parece. Puede ser cualquier cosa, pudo ser una persona, pero realmente con seguridad no te sé qué decir. Observa los movimientos de mi hija de 4 meses, cómo ya está casi dormida y ahorita en un ratito como que se altera. El video no tiene audio, así que por eso se lo estoy relatando. Vean ahí cómo se alteró mi hija y ve directamente hacia el portón. Miren, ahí está observando, ahí se asomó algo. Vean eso. Vean lo extraño que el color de piel que tiene eso, vean. Y mi hija ahí está alterada y si se dan cuenta, no deja de mirar hacia el portón. Vean, mi hija está mirándolo. Ahí se volteó y eso se desvaneció. Bastante extraño.
Something is there at the gate. The skin color of it, as the mother describes it, is wrong. Strange enough that she points it out specifically, that detail catching her attention above everything else. And the baby doesn't look away, 4 months old, barely able to hold her own head up, and she tracks it with the kind of sustained focus that infants simply don't maintain unless something is genuinely holding their attention, and then it fades. There is a belief held across many cultures that newborns and very young infants exist closest to whatever exists on the other side, that they arrived so recently from wherever we come from that the boundary hasn't fully closed around them yet, and that what they see in those early months is sometimes more than what the rest of us can perceive. So, what do you think? Was it a person? The mother isn't sure, but people don't just fade. I'll leave you to be the judge of that. This next clip comes from an office where something had apparently been making itself known for a while, specifically when someone stayed back alone. Staff had been hearing things they couldn't explain, that particular unease of being the last one in a building that starts feeling less empty the longer you're in it. So they pulled up the security footage to finally see what had been keeping them company all those late nights. And this was their reaction when they saw it.
Where's the ghost?
Oh my god, it's moving around.
That is freaky. And it moves so fast. No, keep going because it'll come back.
Right there.
No, y se asoma la cámara también. It goes towards the camera.
Does it come back or does it just stop right
No, it continues. It comes back. And this is the same one that's in our office after everybody leaves because I can freaking hear it.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
What the freak?
And it moves fast.
Ando bien alterado.
Se tomó Red Bull.
More? Wow.
It does.
I said hi. It waved to the camera. You saw?
Mira. We didn't see all that shit.
Oh my god.
We didn't get this far.
We didn't get this far because we were so impressed by the first one.
Wait.
Si
We didn't get this far?
No.
There's more.
This far.
It keeps coming back.
She keeps setting the cameras up.
Mira. You can see the time. Mira, ahí va, otra vez. Hala.
This is crazy.
Anda buscando a la gente, güey.
You can clear it.
Un pedazo de lid to the dust.
No, that moves that fast, Crystal.
No, and then
the
and then on the same area, there's no vents right
A
there.
ver, vamos a ver qué pasa ahí.
It's
Mira, ahí va.
49. It's on the
Hay
right
que mover
side.
bien.
Yeah, there it is.
Mira.
Oh my god, that gave me
You can
chills.
see
That was
clearly.
like a person.
You can
That was like a
sometimes
person.
you can see the
Mira.
silhouette as a person.
Yeah.
That one was formed bigger. That one was. Oh my god, I'm getting chills. I quit.
You never thought we'd catch it, huh?
No.
No.
We never check the cameras. No, when we check the cameras for somebody, always looking for somebody. We don't pay attention to this.
To the ghost, huh?
No.
Who's on call?
We need to check the one in the
Otra vez.
office.
Mira.
Right there, did you see that?
Mira.
I know your first thought is dust, and yes, security cameras pick up dust all the time, floating and drifting in the light. But dust doesn't move like this. Dust drifts. It follows air currents passively, carried by whatever is moving around it. What's in this footage moves with intention, changing direction, navigating the space, behaving less like a particle caught in airflow and more like something that knows where it's going. The co-workers watching that playback together felt it immediately. You can hear it in their voices, the sharp reactions, the genuinely unsettled energy of a group of people who went into that viewing expecting to find nothing and came out of it with goosebumps and a completely different relationship with their office after hours. Whatever that camera captured at 4:47 in the morning in an empty office, it wasn't drifting. It was moving with the quiet, unhurried confidence of something that had been in that building long before any of them showed up for work. So, what do you think it is? I'll leave you to be the judge.